today's mindful moment. We always hear that time heals all wounds, right?
Right.
But like, what if it doesn't? What if the past actually has this power to completely just wreck the present? We don't even see it coming. That's what we're looking at today. This story is going to make you think twice about trauma and lies and the impact they can have even decades later.
Yeah, it's wild how much past events can shape families. Like way beyond just one person. It can be a whole family thing, and it can stay hidden for a really, really long time.
So we've got these two sisters, right? Claire Scott and Lydia Carroll.
Okay.
And their relationship, well, it's been rough for years.
Hmm.
Plus, their sister, Julia, disappeared 24 years ago. Just gone.
Oh, wow.
And they never found any answers. So it's like this huge open wound between them.
Yeah, I bet. You can just imagine how much that weighs on them. Like every time they see each other or think about their family, it's right there.
That's got to be hard.
Yeah.
And then to make things even worse, Claire's husband, Paul, dies.
Mm-hmm.
Like really violently. So she's trying to deal with that. And then all of a sudden, Lydia shows up again after all these years.
Wow. So even in the middle of this tragedy, they're brought back together.
It's almost like fate, you know?
Mm.
But it doesn't exactly go smoothly. But then things get really crazy because Claire stumbles upon Paul's secret stash.
Yeah.
Like computer files, the whole thing.
What? Okay, so what was he hiding?
Ugh, it's rough. Videos of him torturing and murdering people.
No way. Are you serious?
Dead serious. And it gets even more intense because one of the victims looks just like Anna Kilpatrick, you know, the girl who went missing recently.
Oh, yeah.
And get this, another victim has this weird brand on him, like something ritualistic or something super creepy.
So she might have been involved in Anna's disappearance.
It definitely makes you wonder. And that's the whole point of this deep dive, right? It's not just about the shock value. We want to understand how these buried secrets, these past traumas, can just explode into the present like that.
It's like the past always finds a way to catch up with us.
Exactly. And it makes us confront like these uncomfortable truths about ourselves and honestly, the people we're closest to, like the people we think we know.
That's what makes this so unsettling. It forces us to question how well we really know anyone, even the people we love.
Right. Okay, so let's back up a little. Lydia comes back after all this time. It's not exactly a warm welcome, right?
No, I mean, how could it be? They have so much baggage between them, years of hurt feelings, misunderstandings. It's all right there on the surface.
Totally. And you can just tell that Paul's presence is still looming over everything, even though he's gone.
You can sense that a lot of their issues stem from him, from his influence on their relationship.
Yeah. And then boom, Claire finds those computer files, that gladiator folder. Even the name sounds so ominous.
That's got to be a turning point, right? That's when she starts realizing how deep this rabbit hole goes.
Oh, yeah, big time. And what she finds in there, I mean, those videos are just like the worst of humanity, the things he did to those people.
I can't even imagine. And then to see someone who looks like Anna Kilpatrick, plus that branding on the other victim.
It gets under your skin, doesn't it?
It takes it from just some random act of violence to something much more deliberate, much more planned.
It's terrifying. And I keep thinking, put yourself in Claire's shoes. This is the man she loved. This is the man she built a life with. And now she's discovering this other side of him, this monster.
It's like her whole reality just shatters. Everything she thought she knew about Paul, about her own life, is now in question.
You know what it makes you think about stories, right? Like how we see people, how we build this picture of them in our minds. I was just thinking about this YouTube channel, Mindful Moments. It analyzes AI audiobooks. They often talk about unreliable narrators and hidden truths in stories.
Oh, I've heard of them.
They're really interesting. And it's similar to what Claire's going through. She's having to reevaluate everything she thought she knew about Paul like he was some character in a book she misread.
I see what you mean. It's like peeling back the layers of a story and realizing the narrator has been lying to you the whole time.
Exactly. And she doesn't just sit there in shock. She keeps digging, you know. She finds this secret room behind the wall in the garage, another hard drive. It's like she's uncovering more pieces of this horrific puzzle with every step.
You have to admire her determination. She needs answers. She can't let this just be some unsolved mystery.
Right. And then there's the surveillance on Lydia. Paul was spying on his own sister-in-law. What was that about?
It's so disturbing, right? It just
Yeah.
shows how controlling and paranoid he was. Maybe he saw her as a threat, like she might figure him out.
And it wasn't just watching her either. He was actively trying to mess with their relationship to turn them against each other.
He wanted to keep them separated. It's classic manipulation. That way they couldn't compare notes or confide in each other, and he could keep his secrets safe.
It's twisted. And then you have those file names. Personal 1, Personal 2. So cold, so impersonal. It's like he was dehumanizing his victims, reducing them to just entries in some twisted collection.
It's chilling. It speaks volumes about his mindset, how he viewed these people. They were just objects to him, not human beings.
And the Buckminster-Fuller connection. Why go through all the trouble to create this fake identity linked to that property? It's so bizarre.
It's like he wanted to erase his past entirely and build this new life based on lies. Maybe that location held some significance for him, but even then, it's a strange choice.
That voicemail they found at the Fuller place, the one that mentions Lexi, it's like another piece of the puzzle, but it just raises more questions. Who is Lexi? Was she another victim? Was she involved somehow?
It's a tantalizing clue, but it's also really frustrating. It opens up a whole new avenue of investigation, but we don't have enough information to know where it leads.
And the trip to the Fuller house, it's like the tension just builds and builds as they get closer. You can practically feel the dread.
You know, something terrible happened there, and they're walking right into the heart of it. It's almost like a horror movie.
Totally. And inside, they find all this stuff from Paul's childhood, hinting at this, like obsession with the past. It makes you wonder, where did this darkness come from? Was it always there?
It suggests that his actions aren't just random. There's a history here, some deep-seated issues that go way back. It's like he's been shaped by something dark from his past.
Then they find that last videotape, the one with the young woman who looks just like Julia. After 24 years, they finally have an answer to what happened to their sister. But it's the worst possible answer.
It's the ultimate betrayal. All this time, the truth was right there, hidden in plain sight. And it confirms their worst fears, that Paul was capable of unimaginable cruelty.
But just when you think the story can't get any crazier, Paul shows up. He's alive. He confronts Claire.
Oh, wow. I mean, talk about a twist. Just when you think you have it figured out, the rug gets pulled out from under you.
Right. And his reason for faking his death. To cover up his involvement in Anna Kilpatrick's disappearance, he knew the cops were closing in, so he had to disappear.
So he's not just a monster from the past. He's a clear and present danger, and he's still out there hurting people.
Exactly. And when they realize Paul's the masked man in those videos, and then there's that phrase he whispers, "Tell me you want this." That's the same thing he said to Lydia years ago when he attacked her.
That's the moment it all clicks. Right. You realize he's been targeting these women for years. It's a pattern of abuse and control.
It's sickening. And then there's the news about their father, Sam Carroll. Paul drugged him and made him watch that tape of Julia.
Oh my God. To involve their own father in that way, it just adds another layer of heartbreak and betrayal to this whole thing. It shows how far-reaching his evil was.
Yeah, it's awful. And then the confrontation with Paul. It doesn't end well.
It's a tragic ending, but it also feels inevitable in a way. There was no coming back from what he did.
I mean, what else could happen at that point? Afterwards, Claire and Lydia try to destroy all the evidence, and then they find Julia's remains in a well on the Fuller property.
So even in death, they're still finding pieces of her, trying to put her back together. It's heartbreaking, but it also brings a kind of closure,
I guess so. But then you've got Congressman Johnny Jackson, who turns out to be involved with Paul somehow.
Oh, that's just gross. It makes you wonder how deep this corruption goes. How many people knew what Paul was doing and just looked the other way?
It's a disturbing thought. So we're left with this image of Claire and Lydia united by this shared trauma, this horrific truth. And even though Paul is gone, Julia is still gone. And there are other victims out there. The investigation is still going on.
There's a sense of justice in Paul's death, but it's a hollow victory. The damage is done, and these women are left to pick up the pieces.
It's so messed up. So what have we learned from all of this?
Yeah.
I think the biggest takeaway is that the past isn't just something we can leave behind. It stays with us. And sometimes it comes back to haunt us in ways we never could have imagined.
Absolutely. And in this case, the past is this complex web of lies and violence that stretches back decades. It's not just about Paul, it's about a whole system that allowed him to get away with his crimes for so long.
It really makes you think, what's our responsibility when it comes to confronting the darkness of the past, even when it's terrifying, even when it's painful? And how do people heal after experiencing such a deep betrayal, such a devastating loss?
Those are tough questions, and I don't think there are easy answers. But asking those questions, acknowledging the pain, is the first step toward healing and creating a better future.
So if you found this deep dive into the destructive power of secrets thought-provoking, hit that subscribe button for more stories that challenge our perceptions. And if you want to explore this case even further, check out Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. You can find a link in the show notes. And, as always, keep thinking critically about the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we hear. Because sometimes the truth is a lot darker than we want to believe.